Do not sleep with your seniors. Some nurses will lead you into the bush and leave you there. Your colleagues are not your friends. You're going to develop sleeping disorder, eating disorder. Somewhere in this video, I'm going to talk about how much house officers are paid, so stay tuned. Let's do my makeup while I tell you 9 things I wish I knew before I started house job. I wish somebody had told me these things before I started house job. So as your senior colleague, I will be the one to tell you. House job, also known as housemanship, is that compulsory 1 year that a doctor has to pass through after graduating from medical school. This period, the doctor is supposed to learn hands-on, like you've learned the stuff you've in school. Now you have to apply the stuff and get used to managing common things in your environment. In this 1 year, you are expected to learn so much. This leads me to my first point. House job is going to try you. House job is going to try your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. House job is just going to try you. Personally, I've never had under eye bags, but during house job, I developed under eye bags. You're going to develop sleeping disorder, eating disorder, eye bags, anxiety disorder. You will just develop a lot, but it's part of the process. Trust the process. I'm saying this so that when you begin to develop these things, you will know that it is quite normal. You will know that a lot of people before you developed it and a lot more will develop after you. My second point is your colleagues are not your friends. I understand that it's nice and cute to have your colleagues as your friends. Yeah, we all love the fairy tale. Personally, when I went to do my housemanship, I was hoping I'll make friends, I'll be friends with my colleagues, yada yada yada. But your colleagues are your colleagues, they are not your friends. But if you're lucky, you can find a friend in your colleagues. But just know at the back of your mind that your colleagues will not mind throwing you under the bus just to be on the good side of the seniors and the patients. They will throw you under the bus at any given opportunity. So yeah, your colleagues are not your friends. Third point is the reward for hard work is more work. We all want to be known as that hardworking house officer, that house officer that is reliable. It doesn't pay. I mean, they're going to be like, oh yeah, she's hardworking, but that's it. When they need someone to go and check on that patient at 1 a.m., it is you they will call because you are the reliable one. They know that you're going to pick up your phone. I really advise you to just be in the middle, not too reliable and not overly unreliable. It works like magic. Point number 4, and a very, very important point. Do not sleep with your seniors. Let me make it sound better. Do not date your seniors. Do not date your colleagues. Worst of all, do not date your patients. There are certain seniors in the hospital setting that have made it their life aim to sleep with every single intern that walks through the door. Except you don't mind being part of the statistics. But if you mind, then I promise you, do not sleep with those consultants. That consultant is not going to leave his wife for you. The one that is not married is not going to marry you. If he is going to marry you, let him wait till after housemanship. Period. Point number 5 is you can learn from anybody. Most times, your consultants are going to teach you the hyper stuff, the stuff, and then maybe the surgeries. You see those procedures, you are not going to learn it from your consultants, and you are less likely to learn it from your seniors. You are more likely to learn from your colleagues who are fellow house officers and nurses. There are certain things that I learned from the cleaners in the hospital that I probably would have never learned from my consultants. I say this to say that you should respect every single person within the hospital space. I would say that you should try to befriend as many people as possible. You should definitely have a friend in the lab, pharmacy, emergency. You should just have people that you can always put a call across to whenever you need something. This is going to make your work 10 times easier that you can ever imagine. When you walk into the hospital, you say hi to as much people as possible, all the way from the security to your nurses to the admin staff. If I tell you how nurses have made my life easier during house job, you will not believe it. It's so serious that during your night calls, when they want to call the doctor on call, they will ask which doctor is on call today. You're not one of their friends. They will call you 1 million times. There were so many times that some nurses would help me do procedures, set line in the night just because, oh, I'm the one that is on call. And they don't want to stress me. I befriended even one of the most scary nurses then in the ward. Like, this is somebody that was fighting with the patients, fighting with fellow nurses, not to even talk about doctors. But I befriended her. I sat down one day, we gisted for almost 2 hours after my work hours. I stayed to gist with this lady. And if I tell you how that gist helped me, you will not believe it. As much as you are befriending these people, you also have to learn to stand your ground. If you're not careful, some nurses will lead you into the bush and leave it there. You also have to know your stuff, because sometimes they'll come and be like, we don't normally give 10 milligrams, we normally give 5 milligrams, which is sometimes a good thing. That is a way of calling your attention to your prescription. But there are times that the prescription is actually 10 milligrams because we are trying to achieve something. And then if you don't follow up, they will end up probably giving 5 milligrams when you're trying to achieve 10 milligrams. So you just have to know your stuff and also be firm. Just find a balance with it. And the thing with nurses is that when they lead you to that bush, they will leave you there because they have a way of covering up for themselves. But you see, doctors don't cover for themselves. It's your consultants that will expose you. But then their matron will cover them. This brings me to point number 6. Always escalate. So escalating means telling your senior. As a rule of thumb, a house officer is not supposed to make decisions alone. You are always supposed to inform your senior. It could be a resident, it could be a medical officer. If you cannot reach your medical officer or your resident and there is an emergency, call your consultant. You're supposed to follow the ladder, but if there is an emergency and you cannot reach these other people, call your consultant. Just always escalate. And when you are documenting, make sure you write the name of the consultant. There were times that I will make decisions for my patients, like based on the department's protocol, but I will always tell my senior. Once you tell your senior, you have taken away that responsibility from yourself. You have given it, you have passed it on to the next person. So when they start asking questions, God forbid anything goes wrong and they start asking questions, you are not the one that is going to be answering. Your medical officer or your resident is going to be the one that is going to be answering those questions. But once you don't escalate and they come and they start asking who saw the patient, and the only person that saw the patient was a house officer, I promise you, you are going to be in trouble. Point number 7, you are going to read. Read your books as much as possible. I'm saying as much as possible because it's not always feasible. You cannot like have all those long hours of call, especially in places where there are few house officers and then you really want to read. But try as much as possible to read, because this is one opportunity you have to gather a little stuff, to correlate your stuff rather. Besides, there are departments that will do like quizzes, they will do like presentations, and you just don't want to be that dumb house officer. And the thing with being the dumb house officer is the nurses can tell, the cleaners can tell, even your patients can tell that you don't know what you're doing. I've seen patients say, that guy, he doesn't even know what he's doing. My 9th point is, if you ever prick yourself or you get exposed, make sure you get post-exposure prophylaxis. Every hospital has a provision for that to protect their staff. However, PEP has a lot of side effects, so it's not something you want to always be taking. So you also have to make sure you're careful. Try as much as possible to protect yourself. There are doctors who have contracted deadly diseases such as HIV and hepatitis from trying to save the patient. So make sure you are careful. Number 10, save your house job allowance. After house job, you're going to be broke. You move from how much you're going to be paying you during house job to receiving about 80 to 100,000 naira during NYC. So it's that money you saved that is going to save you during NYC. Using my Chiseled by Zaron that contains my highlighter, blush, contour, and the bronzer. As much as you are saving money, do not hesitate to splurge on yourself. So feed that body that works the money. You see what I did there? Feed the body that works the money. It's very easy to keep taking junks because you don't really have time to get balanced diet, but just make it work. Make it work. However you want to do it, make it work. Exercise. I remember when I said I wanted to go to the gym when I was in my house job, and people were like, "Oh, what time do you have?" Make time for yourself. If you fall down today, dead. The highest they will say, "Ah, I'm a fine doctor. Oh. And she was hardworking." No, that's the end. You probably will not even get 1 minute silence. So work that body and also spend money on that body. Be confident. All that thing about having your stuff, if you are not confident about your stuff, you're going to look like a loser. As a doctor, you are kind of a symbolism for hope. Your patients are hoping. They literally look at your facial expressions, they look at your tone, they watch out for every single thing you do as a doctor. So you have to be confident. Typically, as a young doctor, your patients already look at you as kind of a naive doctor. I've seen someone say she prefers to see old matrons overseeing young doctors. So you can imagine how people already look at you. So that is to buttress my confidence talk. You just have to be confident. If you need to talk to your superior, you can step aside. Well, you can take the call in presence of your patient. That's still fine. But still, there's a way you present your patient to your seniors that even your patients will know that you know what you're doing. And you also have to be kind. You'll have to learn how to break bad news. One thing that made me more compassionate towards my patients, especially when I break bad news, is when you break the news of the death of a loved one, for every single time they're going to remember the death of that loved one, they will always remember your face and probably your name too. So you have to be as kind and compassionate as possible. Now, to the final part, the reason why most of you are still here. How much do house officers earn? So the salary of house officers depend on where you're working. The lowest I've seen so far was 149,000. So it's just about 150,000. The highest I have seen as at when I was still doing house job was 275,000 naira. When I started my house job, I started in Biological Teaching Hospital in Kaduna, and they were paying 149,000 naira. I don't know if that has increased. This is a little over a year ago. And then I knew of some facilities like Niger State. I don't know which of the hospitals in Niger State, Kefi, they were paying about 160 to 180,000 naira. So these 100 and 100 and were like centers that are not on the MDCN portal. Centers that are on the MDCN portal, as at the last time I checked, which was maybe a month ago, they earn about 200 and about 80,000. However, my center is not on the MDCN portal. It is an FCDA hospital, so it's a general hospital in Abuja. When I started, we were earning 185,000 naira. I earned that for about 2 months. After then was when they implemented the increase in hazard allowance. So I started earning about 230. But my last salary before I finished house job, I received 275,000 naira. So this is just the salary breakdown of house officers in Nigeria. If you have made it to this point, that means my channel is insightful to you. And the only thing I ask of you is to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share. Share to those that you think would find this video useful. I wish I had someone to tell me all of these things I'm telling you guys. So thank you for staying up to this point. See you guys in another video. Bye.